episode of the Max&Em Travels Zoom Podcast, where we're going to be chatting with a bunch of creators in the upcoming weeks. And for our very first episode, we're lucky to have adrenaline junkies, travel couple of Australia, Alesha and Jarryd from NOMADasaurus. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey guys.
Hi guys.
Thanks very much for having us, and we are stoked to be on your very first episode. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more to come.
Yeah, we're super stoked to have you guys on our first episode as well. We'll jump straight into the questions. Our first one is just a broad question. So for the viewers who don't know you, do you want to give a backstory on each of you, who you are and what you guys do?
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
You go first.
So I've been traveling for just over 13 years now, is that? About 13 years. I left as a solo traveler and I went to the US and Canada. And then in Canada, after being there for nearly a year and a half, I met Jarryd. So I met him in Vancouver in a hostel, in a bar, hostel bar. Yeah. And from there, we've been traveling ever since together, which has been nearly 12 years. No, maybe less than that.
Since 2008. 12 years this year.
Yeah, 12 years. So I've been on the road for 14 years. I left when I was in 2006. So there we go. And
yeah, and I'm kind of the same story. I left home in 2007, went backpacking, moved to Canada to be a ski bum, lived out some wicked winters there, and met Alesha while I was working at the hostel. And ever since then, we've just been traveling around the world, and in the last couple of years, been lucky enough to kind of make it our career. So
we're lucky we met each other, that both of us love to travel. So that was awesome. Like nobody wanted to be a homebody, so it was perfect.
Definitely. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Shut my door.
So I just
Going down the hallway. Yeah, good acoustics.
so where did the passion for NOMADasaurus start?
Yeah.
Where did it start? So when we were hitchhiking around Vancouver Island back in like 2011, maybe.
Yeah,
we were hitchhiking. I was trying to find a tattoo artist to get this tattoo done. And he kind of only tattooed Indigenous people. And we hitchhiked up to this little island and had this incredible time up there. And we spent a lot of time with some First Nations people and had this incredible experience. And we got back to Victoria, which is the main town on Vancouver Island. And we were staying with our friends. And one of the friends said, you guys should start a blog. You've got all these like cool, crazy travel stories. And we were like, what's a blog? What's that? And at the time, we had like no Facebook, no Instagram, no whatever. Like
I don't think we had personal Facebooks, but we weren't on them that much. Like we didn't use anything like on social media. And we said to our friend, we were like, cool things happen to people who travel. Like we're not anything unique. Like we may go out of the way a little bit to do something like hitchhiking, which is, you know, on the end of like adventurous, you know, not knowing who's going to pick you up or where you're going to get dropped off. Right? But still, we said to it, like, things happen. And so we thought, we'll give it a go.
Well, first, then we went to Central America after that. And we like traveled with like a GoPro Hero, like the original GoPro.
I was the original one, and I'm like, oh, it's crazy how they've changed. But
I was looking back on footage like, how horrible.
And that was like, we just traveled with like the original GoPro and like this really crappy point and shoot camera. And along the way, we met this dude who was making videos. And then we met another couple of guys from Australia who were making a YouTube series before we even knew what YouTube was. And just hanging out with them and a couple of creative dudes was really interesting to us. And it kind of planted the seed. And then we were in a bus in Mexico, and Alesha said, I want to go to Africa for our next trip. And rather than it just being like a normal backpacking trip, we thought, maybe it's a good time to like start a blog or start a documentary or whatever and give us some kind of purpose while we're traveling. And that's kind of where the seed for NOMADasaurus is planted, I guess. And then, a couple of years later, we're in Southeast Asia. We started the website, started the social media. That was at the beginning of 2014. And it just kind of grew from there. And it's, as time's evolved, it's, turned into a proper business now. We've got a team and, we do a whole bunch of different things. So it's been like a crazy journey. But that's kind of where NOMADasaurus started.
We're still pinching ourselves to this day. Like we can't believe like we've made a business from this and stuff, we still pinch ourselves. We're still in disbelief. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we were like, I've obviously keep up to date with all your YouTube blogs and all your Instagram, but we were reading through your website and through a few of your blogs, and we were blown away with like what you guys experienced, and like some of the stories you have is pretty unreal. And a few of our later questions are sort of specific to some of your stories. But
cool.
hopefully one day we have like pretty like similar amazing stories to you guys. But it's pretty inspiring.
Thanks, guys. Well, I'm sure you guys.
Sure
first of all, you probably already got a bunch of epic stories.
You don't think you think, oh yeah, they're pretty original, but they're like probably epic to so many people. And you don't think
true.
It's like,
and you guys are still so young. Like, we're old, we're going grey. Like,
you grey hairs there.
Yeah, the grey patches. So you guys got years to get epic stories.
Yeah. So when you started NOMADasaurus, did you have any qualifications before, like for photography or
business or anything or marketing?
Absolutely nothing. I was a grain analyzer for wheat, and that was it.
Yeah.
And Jarryd was a rigger on the mines, and pretty much like
did construction.
That's our only certification. So photography and writing was nowhere.
Like my skills at making videos and taking photos was literally getting a GoPro, putting it on my helmet, hitting record, and then just uploading that straight to like Facebook a couple of years later. I didn't know anything about whatever.
All these snowboarding videos.
And completely self-taught. We've been lucky. We've met some really cool people on the road. And when we were in Myanmar, we met a guy who was a BBC wildlife photographer.
Wow.
And we're super lucky that we like did a trek with him and we hung out with him for a couple of days. And,
super lovely guy. Yeah.
And he was, taking amazing photos, and we were just kind of shadowing him and asking questions. He was very generous and told us a whole bunch of cool information and tips. And we're like sponges. We just kind of took all that information off him. And that was kind of mid 2014. And ever since then, we kind of slowly got into photography and got into writing. I won a travel writing scholarship and started freelancing. And so,
that kicked you off.
But no qualifications in the early days.
No.
Still no qualifications.
No qualifications. Lots of love for what we do. Yeah.
Yeah. As you were saying, like networking and meeting people like while you're traveling is like huge with travel. It's probably, well, I'd say one of the best things about it is like the people you meet. And that's obviously paid a lot with developing your skills and stuff. Obviously meeting numerous people that have like content skills and whatnot. Obviously, like I've experienced the same, not necessarily with travel, but like because I went to uni and then I met a bunch of my best mates, and like now we're all like we're all like videographers and content creators, but in different kind of genres and areas. And we kind of just like bounce off each other. Like if one person learns a new skill, then we pretty much all learn the same skill, and then like one of us gets better, and then it pushes all of us to get better. So it's really awesome, like the way networking is and how important it is, especially with travel and everything.
Yeah, it's so beautiful that like, everyone works together and pushes each other, and you learn new things, and people aren't shy to teach, like teach each other's skill, like another person a skill.
Yeah.
I think travel and creativity, especially if you're doing like backpacking or long-term travel, those kind of people that are drawn to that and drawn to, artistic sides of life, we're all kind of, we love sharing with each other. Like, you end up hanging out, everyone might have different interests, but you bounce off each other, you have these amazing experiences, and you want to uplift your friends, So, whether it's people you're networking as a traveler or networking as a creative, just like when we met you, Max, we're hanging out with a bunch of guys who are doing like amazing, awesome stuff, and like we're getting inspired just hanging out with all you kind of guys. And it's the best part about what we do and being in this industry, and we can just meet so many cool people.
And you never know, like nobody knows everything. You're always learning something new every day, and that's what I love about photography, videography. You're always like, oh my gosh, like I never knew that, or I can do something different. It's just awesome. Like you're always thinking, which is amazing.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely.
All right, we'll go on to another question. Do you want to run through that one?
Oh yeah. You guys have like Max said before, it's achieved so much. I was reading it, I was like, okay, wow. Like, this is amazing. It's so inspiring. But if you had to choose, like, one of your highlights or, like, biggest achievements or accomplishments, what would that be?
Within your, like, career as creators and travelers and whatnot.
Okay. Biggest achievement as a creator. Oh, that's a tough one. From a business point of view, we're really proud of the work that we do with Kathmandu. You know, we've been lucky enough to work with them as brand ambassadors over the last couple of years, and they're a company that we really respect and align ourselves with a lot. And it's not meant to be a plug for Kathmandu. Yeah, it's not meant to be a plug for them, but just from a business point of view, being able to partner with such an amazing company has been really huge.
And their eco side, which we are in love with. So they just, as a company, slowly tries to adapt in the future. But I love that. I love it so much.
Perhaps from a creative point of view, securing a contract to go to Antarctica was something that was kind of a game changer for us. It helped get us onto another level, and something that we were super stoked that we could secure that. So that was something. And then I guess creatively going to the world's biggest cave was an opportunity from that we had the world's biggest cave is in Vietnam, and we pitched a story to BBC Travel. Never wrote for them before, but they ended up taking a story and buying a bunch of our photos, and that was kind of.
And this goes back to the story before. We actually knew nothing about, well, we knew a little bit about photography, but we actually taught ourselves within 1 week how to this whole brand new SLR camera that we had a point and shoot. We knew it was a manual point and shoot, but you know, we knew a few settings and then we jumped to an SLR, and we learned within, it wasn't even a week, maybe 4 days until we got like accepted on the tour to when we left was about 5 days, I reckon. And we were like in our house, we had all the lights turned off, flashes everywhere, and we're trying to work out like, remote control this, because we thought if we can get good photos for BBC, we can get more money and get our photos out there as well. And so we learned pretty much very quickly off YouTube as well.
So that was a couple of things, I guess. It's kind of hard to narrow down like that one kind of pivotal point in our careers, but those are a few things that stand out.
I think that one always reminds me, because like that really made us like think of photography, so that was a good achievement.
And we ended up selling those photos
like to multiple publications,
hundreds of times after that, so it was a big thing for us.
Taught yourselves well, obviously.
Oh God, we had our roommate's dog in the room at the time, and the dog didn't know what was going on. He's like sitting there, and next minute these flashes are going off everywhere, and the dog's like freaking out. Like,
I'm probably disappointed he didn't get to go with you.
Exactly.
He didn't even know what was going on. We didn't tell him we're doing photography, buddy. It's chill.
All right. It's kind of a similar question to that one, obviously, but like in all your years of traveling, what would be your top travel moment?
We talked about this surprisingly the other day. So we would say we went to the reindeer herders up in the very north near the Russian border in Mongolia, and it was amazing. Like, so we went with our 2 friends, but unfortunately they only lasted a day because of their knee, because we had to do 2 days of horse tracking out there. So one of their knees went, and they ended up going back. And it was incredible to see these like nomadic people in the middle of nowhere. We slept in teepees. The reindeers just like they go away during the day to graze, and then they come back automatically. And like, it was just amazing.
So the Sargan people, there's only 500 people in the whole tribe. Still left in the world. And we had seen some photos, probably in National Geographic or something, years prior, and I didn't really know anything about Mongolia except there were some reindeer herders there. So when we like went to Mongolia, that was going to be it's all we wanted to do, really, just try to get up there and see them. And it was a crazy mission to get up there. It was
2 days out there horse tracking. We stayed 3 nights, and then 2 days back horse tracking as well. And we were like, we were in the worst weather, and so we were.
I've never rode a horse before. You had a little bit, but not like this. We were literally, the horses were like bending back and we were jumping rivers. And I was like little rivers. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I was freaking out, wasn't I? And it was wet and oh my gosh, it was definitely that one sticks in our minds. Like, oh, it was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, fantastic experience. That
Yeah.
one. It always stands out whenever we think of our top 5.
Yeah,
moments.
that one is fun. And of course the cave, which we just talked about, and probably Antarctica, which we just talked about.
There's a few.
But
yeah, definitely the reindeer herders.
Yeah.
There are like countless top moments, but the ones that usually stick out are usually the ones that are obviously the biggest adventures and the ones that take you into the middle of nowhere.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
Now let me flip it. I want to hear what your best travel experience is.
Yes.
Ooh.
Oh.
You didn't expect that, did you?
No, I didn't. You want to go? You go.
I don't know. The biggest travel surprise to me is when we went to Croatia. I didn't really even know it was there, to be honest. Like, and it was this biggest surprise of how beautiful it was and how amazing it was. It just like kind of took me back, and I was like, wow, I really need to do some more research on what's actually out there, because it's what I think, like your basic like Eiffel Towers and stuff, which I was like really excited for, and then all these other countries just blew me away. I was like, I need to actually sit down, do some research, and realize what I want to go see.
Croatia was pretty unreal because we met in on a Europe trip with Kentucky. So I was tasked I was sent on the trip to do content for them, and then Emily was a traveller on the trip. And that was a pretty awesome trip. But I reckon my top moment would be in South America in Bolivia. So it was on Kentucky as well, but we ended up, so we did Peru, Bolivia, and then Chile. But in Bolivia, we went to uni, however you say it. Have you guys been to Bolivia?
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Unreal. So there we all jumped in. They organised, they had about 4 or 5 forward drives, and we jumped in them. And for the next 3 days, we drove through the huge national park there in the reserves, and where we stopped off at and slept for the 2 nights, we were in the middle of nowhere, and the accommodation was your basic of everything, which is all you need, but the amazing scenery around you and how quiet it was. There was nothing else around you. No phone signal, which was awesome. So you couldn't go on your phone, couldn't check messages, couldn't check Instagram, which was super helpful.
You could be present.
Yeah. But I reckon that was one of my top moments, just because the amount of travel we did to get to Bolivia, and the people we met, the drivers in all the cars ended up being our best mates. I left one of my hats there, unfortunately, so I'm assuming when I go back, one of them's wearing it. So I might have to take it off him. But
at least I went to a good guy.
Exactly. But I reckon Bolivia blew me away, because I had no idea what to expect. Even before the trip, I didn't even do my research on Bolivia. But it blew me away because I was not expecting it.
Oh, it's one of. Uni is just. It's really got to be seen to be believed, right? You see the photos, you read blog posts, or watch videos or whatever. It doesn't do any justice. When you get there, it's so overwhelming. It's so beautiful.
It really is,
100%. I reckon probably, once again, there's obviously, you can't pick just one moment. But I reckon another moment would be, I went on a uni trip to Vanuatu at the start of last year. So we were tasked with, we all had to apply for it, and then you got picked, and there was about 20 of us who went, and we lived in, we went to the island of Santo and lived in this village that they receive all their income from tourism, from all the boats coming in and people coming to visit their village, and they do shows and whatnot. So we lived in the village for 3 weeks, and we were tasked with creating different documentaries on different topics of the village and whatnot. So then we had to take that home and show the rest of the uni. But that trip was, I reckon, life-changing, just because obviously they have near to nothing compared to us like Westerners and everything. And just the smile on their faces, like every day, is just amazing. It just made me so grateful for what we have and what I have, because if they're like the happiest people and they have absolutely nothing, it was crazy to see. And I made like amazing relationships within the first few days of like my host family. And like I'm just itching to go back, but obviously we can't. But as soon as we can, go straight there and say hello. But yeah, I reckon that was a top moment.
It's really incredible, like having moments like that where you really appreciate, and I feel like everybody needs to travel to have those moments as well, because when you come home, like you really appreciate hot water, you appreciate even having a fridge in your kitchen, because most of them that like in Kyrgyzstan, they don't have any fridges. Like same with Mongolia, that they don't have any of that, even hot water, and they bathe out of the river most of the time. So you just like far out, like, you know, when I was growing up, I didn't even think about those like luxuries you have, and now you actually, every time we get in the shower, or we're just like, oh my gosh, we're so lucky, we've got hot water and clean water too, which is huge as well. You really appreciate coming back from a trip like that, and those people are still really happy. And then you think, wow, people in the Western world complain about the silliest things sometimes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right.
I was reading through some of your blogs, and it sounded like there were some crazy stories in there.
Yeah.
I was like reading about how you met some friends, and then what was it? Having people you could fit in a chicken bus.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. How do you see it?
Yeah. So I want to know, like, what is one of the craziest or scariest like things that has happened whilst traveling?
And we also saw that you were busted for potential drug smugglers.
Yeah, on the boat.
Oh yeah. So there's a couple. There was the bus in Georgia. There was the tobacco smuggling bus. There was the drug smuggling in on a yacht in the Caribbean. Actually,
and then they wouldn't let us into Honduras because they thought that we were drug smugglers. So they kept us at the port for like 48 hours, and then they realized that we were telling the truth. We did have engine problems, and we had to come back.
I had dreadlocks at the time too, and tattoos. People just like everywhere in Central America, people just super smuggle drugs. But the bus crash that we had in Myanmar was pretty gnarly.
Yeah, we had a head-on bus crash with another bus. So both of the buses.
And give first aid to the driver.
The buses were so old. We were so scared they were going to blow up, like instant. Like as soon as it was a local bus. We went on a tourist. So there's in Myanmar, there's like the local buses and the tourist buses. Yep. We were a little bit cheap and we didn't pay for the tourist bus. We just paid for the local bus because we ended up going with another guy, and he said, I'll put you on that bus. So that will get you to Yangon, the capital, and not the capital, sorry, the big city. Yeah. And it wasn't anyone's fault. It wasn't our bus's fault. It was the other bus's fault. He just didn't, it was the wrong time, like, you know, wrong place at the wrong time. And the other bus didn't turn the corner, and our bus,
but there was a moment when we were in Guatemala, we met this dude in a bar, and he worked on a sailboat, and he ended up getting us work. We were hitching a ride to this island, and we ended up hitching and then got along really well with the guys. So they kept us on board as like a deckhand and a chef. Long story, but
cook. You can't say chef.
Long story, but I'll fast forward to we were off the coast of Nicaragua, and we were just kind of sailing along close to the coast, and this boat came zooming across at us really, really fast.
It was in daylight, but it was like in dusk, like the evening. So we were kind of like, we could see this boat coming towards us.
Yeah, with a bunch of dudes on it, and they were just like pinning it straight for us.
They were big dudes too.
Yeah, and the owner was just like, pirates, go downstairs to me. He said, go downstairs and get the gun. And now when I say gun, it was an air rifle. It wasn't even a real gun.
But it looked like a real gun. It was big. It looked like a real gun.
So downstairs.
I know. Yeah. He refused to have a weapon on his boat, like a gun or anything.
Yeah. So I ran downstairs, grabbed that. The first mate was this gigantic Mexican dude. So we all went and stood on the deck, and we all kind of made ourselves look like it was a bunch of us.
So we all stood on the side of the boat to let them know how many people were on our boat, and we overpowered
Well,
numbers for their boat. But
I kind of like started waving the gun in the air.
like,
And then when they got close enough to kind of scout us out, they slowed down. They just kind of checked us out for like 5 seconds or whatever, and then they waved and turned around and left. So we don't know if we're going to get kidnapped by pirates.
Well, no, in that area they just do like petty piracy, so they'll just come on the boat.
They don't kill you. They just steal all your shit,
all your stuff, and then leave. And then they don't injure you. They leave you.
Right.
Yeah, so that was a really.
We think they were pirates. Possibly they could be fishermen trying to sell us.
Oh yeah, they like some signature fishermen.
We don't know.
With the
We like the pirate story better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot better.
Yeah.
It sounds a lot better. We had no idea. Like, yeah. But we better be safe than sorry, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. All right. All right. So if you could suggest to anyone that wants to travel, where would you recommend? Top 3 places to visit.
Okay, so if you're coming from Australia and New Zealand, which may be where your audience is primarily from, I would recommend going to Vietnam. To start off with, I think Vietnam is just an absolutely fantastic place.
Yeah.
It's cheap, the people are awesome, the food's great, the culture's really interesting. If you love adventure, there is just
so much to do.
Endless amount of cool adventures. Go there if you know how to ride a motorbike and you've got a license. Buy a bike, cruise up and down the country. Way to introduce yourself to travel in a somewhat safe environment. If you take away the motorbike, because riding motorbikes is dangerous, but
and he specified you had to have a license because insurance companies, if you don't have a license in Australia or you won't be covered if you have a crash.
But
so heads up on that one.
It's a great introduction.
I just don't have a motorcycle license, so
yeah.
But I'm sure you do anyway. Everyone does.
Everyone does it, and it realizes the pain in the hospital when they get the bill.
But no, Vietnam. So it's whether you buy a motorbike or not, I think it's just a great place to introduce travel to you because you can do it independently. You can do it cheap. It's fairly safe because there's a lot of other tourists around. The infrastructure is really good for that.
Yeah, they cater for tourists as well. So there's tourist buses, the trains, the accommodation, hostels. Like there's different chain hostels as well. That if you stay at that one hostel in that end of Vietnam, then they've got deals all the way up things. So there is like safe blankets if people are a little bit unsure of traveling solo and they do want to do it, but there's kind of safe blankets everywhere, which is really good. Like, yeah.
And then if you're coming from North America or Europe, I really recommend going to Guatemala. Pretty much for the same reasons as Vietnam.
Yeah, Guatemala was
beautiful place, great culture. The adventures there are amazing. You go trekking on volcanoes and all kinds of cool stuff there. A lot of like cool multi-day hikes. Great place to learn Spanish. And
really easy. Their Spanish is like slow, like slower than the rest of South America. Central and South America. They're just really beautiful.
Yeah, and it's a great hopping off point to kind of cruise around to all other places in Central America. And then for a third place,
Europe?
I mean, I'm kind of impartial to. It's really easy to get a working holiday visa, and that's kind of how both of us started out.
We had a little technical difficulty. Where was your third top?
Third place I would say is Canada, and we're kind of impartial to Canada because it's where we met, obviously. But what makes it such a great travel destination for a lot of young people, whether you're coming from Europe or Australia, New Zealand, etc., is you can get a working holiday visa for there really easy, and you can cruise over there. You don't even need to have a job or a house sorted before you get there. You can figure all that out once you arrive. People, same language as what we speak, so it's really easy to kind of cruise in, integrate with the local people there. And
Canadians are really chill. They're just
so
easy to get along with. Like,
they're very different to Americans, hey?
Yeah, like the two borders. They're very.
Yeah,
we've met some beautiful people. The California side, they're very. But we haven't met many people on different other areas.
Yeah.
So
but again, then once they're in Canada too, you get a job working at ski field, or if you want to live in like Vancouver or Montreal, and then if you love being in the outdoors, I mean, Canada's one of the most beautiful places in the world,
endless adventures.
Unreal place.
Endless,
Unreal place. Yeah, I went. That was actually my first overseas trip. I went over there because my cousin had moved over there because he met his girlfriend there, and he convinced me to meet him over there. So I ended up doing that, and we actually did. So he's got a van over there, and we did a 2-week road trip along the west coast of America. So obviously we went from Vancouver through down to LA and back up, and then spent another month and a half in Vancouver and Whistler and everything. We didn't end up getting to go to like Banff and all that, which I was pretty disappointed about, but gives me reason to go back. But that has been one of my favorite places to visit. Just as you said, the people are extremely nice. I find them like quite similar to like Australians, just in the way that they're very chill and the way they go about life. And it was unreal, and obviously a great place because my cousin now lives there full time. So
it's really, we have a lot of friends from Australia who have, like, when we lived in Revelstoke, which is one of the towns we both love, we lived there for 18 months.
Yeah.
And all our Aussie friends who were there have pretty much all of them are now residents or even citizens of Canada now. They all stayed. So and they've all had kids there. So it's crazy, absolutely crazy. It's beautiful country.
Yeah. Now, all that being said, those 3 countries are what we recommend for people to go traveling. But I mean, if anyone is listening or watching and they're like, I really want to go check out, Kenya or whatever, like any country is a good country to go traveling, right? You just got to, make that choice and go.
Make that jump.
Definitely. We saw that I really read I really like the blogs, as you can tell. But there was one about you did about like how long-term traveling can like affect like your relationship, everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like advice or tips for us or any travel couple out there, like how if the effects of like maintaining like the business side, your relationship, and like the traveling and everything like that. Yeah, definitely.
I would say balance. Even now, like we've been on the road for doing the blog for 6 years now. 6 years, and still to this day we're trying to find balance. Like, and we have to remind each other sometimes because we get so in the moment. But balance is definitely one.
So like balance
between work life and like doing your work. If you are a digital nomad and you work online as well, having that, but then also balance with like personal time, so going on a date as well now and then. But because you've got during the days and stuff when you travel, it's like you're traveling with your best friend, so you're just going along, and you forget sometimes, or not, you don't forget, but you forget to have that romantic time, that that side where you're like, hey, let's go out on a date and let's have a bottle of wine and just something nice, because you need that in your relationship, because otherwise it becomes very stale, and then I don't know, that's where I find a lot of couples will just go there both ways. And then
especially if a couple's never really traveled together before, or if they don't live together and don't quite understand how they can handle living together or traveling together full time, to then jump into doing something like going backpacking together for a year it can be a huge strain on the relationship. And so if someone's, not to say don't do it, like if you haven't lived with your boyfriend or girlfriend and you want to go do it, do it. It's gonna it'll be amazing for you guys. But it's definitely something that people should, if they're not quite sure how they'll handle that situation together, schedule time apart. Like
that's a really good one.
If say you want to go and like hike some mountain and the other person would rather go check out a museum, you don't have to do everything together all the time. Be like, let's split up for the afternoon, we'll catch up in the evening, and
so having balance of personal time as well, and communication is a massive one. I know with the post you were talking about, like we spent 2 years going overland, and we made it to Turkey, and it was just, we were so travel burnt out, like literally so burnt out that we didn't even want to see Istanbul, we didn't want to do anything. But then the crazy thing was we weren't communicating with each other on how we feel, and like maybe we should cut this trip short here, we shouldn't stay in this country that long, things like that. We weren't physically talking to each other about like what we want, or because I was like, whatever Jarryd wants I'll do, and then he's thinking whatever Alesha wants I'll follow, and we weren't physically talking to each other. So that's, communication is massive. even if it's not just for a couple, or whether it's two siblings, like mum and daughter, father and daughter, whatever, like combinations, anybody, communication is huge.
Yeah, and we're still not pros at it.
No,
like,
no.
We still like bicker, and we still have
but
fights on the
we
road.
have one rule, like we don't hold grudges. So for example, like I will be shitty at him for, I don't know, I'm going to say for not doing the laundry that morning or something, and I've told him 20 times and he molds me, and I'm like, and like we might have a bicker at each other, and then we stop for like we don't talk to each other for 5 minutes, and then we turn around and we're like, okay, what do you want to do for lunch? Like we just move on, because there's no point in holding grudges,
especially when you're on the road and you don't have that, you can't just like go catch up with your mate for coffee or like it's just you two. So.
You're in countries where people don't even speak or possibly like English, so you're only got each other to speak English. So you're like, I can't go tell Joe down the road about my problem.
Have you guys got a tip for us? Because like I said, we're not pros. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
Look, I'm definitely not pros. I'm taking all those tips. Super. I guess because we met in Europe on a Kentucky trip, and then from there we kept in contact, because Emily's actually originally from Central Coast in New South Wales, and I'm from Brisbane. So we spent year and a half in different states being together.
Long distance.
Yeah, so we'd fly down. We'd probably see each other once or twice a month. Once a month, I'd fly down or Emily'd fly up, and then. But now, so then I moved down to Central Coast with my grandma, obviously be closer with Emily, and that was for what, 4 months?
4 months, yeah.
4 months. But then I still wasn't living with her permanently. But then now we're in Brisbane and we are living together. And we were
very different.
Yeah, very different, very different.
We're going to like just FaceTime each other, like
What would be
being there? It's very different.
Yeah. What would be your biggest tip to people who are, because like people are like you guys would meet when you're traveling, and then they're like in different countries. For example, our friends, one is a Filipino and one is from England, and she's had her visa for England and she can't get another one for a while, but they're together now traveling. But like at the time, it's really, and I see this a lot. We both see this when we travel. We meet couples who are like, oh, we just met on the road. We don't know how it's going to work because, you know, I've got commitments at home. I'm going back to my job. So
what's your tip? How do you guys make that work?
Well, I guess it's kind of similar to you guys when you guys met and you both wanted to travel, which obviously makes life easier. And I think it was the same, obviously, with us. We met traveling, and then I think at that time when I met you, I did want to travel full time and obviously create content. And you were working full time.
I was in childcare, so I wanted to travel, but I didn't know that I could even do it full time until we started talking about it and communicating about like, okay, maybe we could work this out. But like, I think the biggest tip is just don't give up on it. Like it is hard, and there was times like we were like, okay, this is even possible. This can work. What can we do? But just communicating it and just not giving up on it.
Yeah, for sure.
And trusting in each other that you both kind of are working the best you can to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because now 2 years down the road and we're living together, which we never thought would have happened. So
that's a good example. That's great advice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah. All right. Another question. So obviously everyone's facing like strange times at the moment with what's going on at the moment, and we'd like to know, how has the COVID-19 pandemic affected your work, and what have you guys done to adapt to that, and what are you doing now?
Okay, so
where do we
I'll take this. So we work in travel, and obviously travel has been absolutely decimated, and not just travel, a lot of other industries too.
Definitely.
But from a travel content creator's point of view, we had all our work dry up in a matter of days. So we were fully booked until November with a bunch of international trips and things around Australia and different clients. We had some ambassadorships, we had some new projects we were working on, and all that basically disappeared in a couple of days. And from that, like we had financial forecasts and roadmaps of how we were going to grow the business. And we've got a team as well. We've got 8 people that work for us now. And so we had all like this big plan of scaling up and doing this and like having the team really like grow with us and hiring more people, and just disappeared, right? Like
the team's still there. But
the team, we've kept the team.
The ideas disappeared.
But then clients were cancelling contracts, and we lost a couple of ambassadorships because this kind of stuff, right? So it affected us really heavily. Our income dropped like 90%. So that was it was hard for that few days, but it also encouraged us to pivot and really start to look at things from a positive mindset, because it's not just us that's been affected.
So
it's
many
everyone. Right. And so we can't just sit around going, oh
poor me. It's only me. We were like, okay, let's not. So we were a little bit down a few days, but we sat down and we were like, okay, it's not the end of the world to begin with. Situations are going to be tighter. Like things are going to be tighter. We'll just tighten up a few things. We rearranged the hours for our riders and our manager. So they're a little bit less in some areas now. And we pivoted the articles to a different area to help out with the ones that were riding were pretty much obsolete at that time. So we were like, okay, let's pivot that. But we were like, okay, let's just sit down and not do the poor me card. Let's try and work out how we're going to get through this and what we're going to do, and things like that. So that's what we did for we would have afternoon coffees, which turned into a beer. What are we going to do?
We basically we had to rewrite that business plan, right? So things will bounce back. If anyone's working in travel, things will bounce back. It might take a long time, which is going to suck.
It's a waiting game. It's an absolute waiting game.
But things will turn around. 100% they will. But in the meantime, like what we're doing, for example, we're using this time to better the skills that we have. So we signed up for a bunch of different courses, like photo editing and video editing, and I'm doing some SEO and affiliate stuff. Things that we can apply to our business and also grow other projects that we're working on. We're getting more into consulting and doing some more client work and things like that. So there are a lot of opportunities out there. It's just about thinking outside the box. Now, if someone's watching this and they're a travel photographer, a travel content creator, it's a great time to start shifting to maybe doing your more product photography, or maybe start shooting more lifestyle kind of videos or things like that. There is a million different things out there that we can all be doing. And if you're a creative kind of person, you're going to have all these cool skills and this great attitude and this great mindset of tackling projects and working your ass off to achieve the things that you want to do. And it might mean for the next few years that the money isn't there in travel, but there's going to be opportunities elsewhere. So that's kind of how we're approaching it. And I've got to say now it's been a month since everything kind of fell apart for us. And clients are starting to reach out to us again. We're starting to get emails. We're starting to have conversations with people. We've picked up a couple of new contracts, nowhere near where we were before, but things are shifting. Nice. Things are getting better.
And I feel like the positive attitude, like when you start having a negative attitude, then things that will like doom and gloom. But I feel we just kept a positive attitude. And yes, it is a tough time, but if we just write it out and pick up on our skills and learn new things and improve on things, then by the time we do that, then work will pick up again.
I think that's going to be the trick for a lot of people too, is don't give up right now. As tempting as it is, especially if you're up and coming and you haven't kind of secured, maybe you don't have a lot of savings behind you at the moment, or maybe you haven't quite got that network around you where you can kind of lean on other people for new work. It's important now not to give up, because things will bounce back, and unfortunately there's going to be a lot of us that don't make it out on the other side in terms of business. But the ones who stay positive and keep trying to upskill and network and connect with new people, like what you guys are doing, you're like, let's pivot, let's start a podcast.
We would never have done this.
Like people are sitting at home and, people are,
you guys are a perfect example of exactly what everyone should be doing right now.
Pivoting.
You can't sit around and go, woe is me. Hopefully someone contacts me. I hope we get an email today with some work, we got to make our own opportunities right now.
Last week we made the big decision. So we run tours as well in Central Asia. So we've got tours in Mongolia, Tajikistan and Mongolia, and
Kyrgyzstan.
Kyrgyzstan,
Yeah.
And so we had 3 countries. We're running 3 tours this year, and we had the devastation of emailing everybody on Sunday night because Friday night, just to say, guys, we're cancelling. And it was the most heartbreaking decision for us, but it was also so important because the countries we're going to, they don't have the infrastructure for the medical area. So we didn't want anything bad, even though it's like 3 months down the track still. We just said, this is the best call. We had phone calls with all our partners in the country, and we were like, yeah, we're done. So we refunded everybody their tours, and we that was a massive like disappointment, but like heartbreaking for us to, especially for our partners in those countries, because it's also work for them, because they say it's dried up for all them as well. So we're hoping next year to pick it up again and do it, but that was a massive hit for us, and that was probably the hardest thing we've done over this whole situation, like the COVID health crisis. Like cancelling that was, we did it, we were watching the news and they were like, oh, this is cancelled, we can't fly here, we can't do this, and we were like holding on, and we're like, maybe it might change, and then we're like, no, it's done.
And especially after I'm sure you guys have put so much effort into organising those trips. Looking forward to them, and sure all the people that were going to be on those trips were super excited to be on it.
That was the most heartbreaking one. We just had one email from one of our guests to say it was her very last trip that she wanted to go on, wasn't it? And it was just people celebrating celebrating birthdays. So we said, please, next year we're doing it again. It'll be a better situation.
We'll have to come on one of them trips. Sure.
Yeah, you guys will love it over there.
It's pretty crazy.
Pretty
They're amazing countries. Absolutely amazing.
We saw on your Instagram recently that you bought a van.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Is that like an
exciting
chapter?
What's the plan?
Yeah. So
we've pivoted that way.
Seeing as we can't go anywhere and do anything, and all internationally, or even domestically right now. We've been we've had a couple of camper vans in the past. We had one in Canada, we had one in Western Australia, and we've wanted to buy another one for a lot of years. But just with our work, we're always coming and going. We're only ever in Australia for either
2 weeks, not even.
Maximum. Sometimes we're only back home for like 18 hours. We fly in, change our clothes, and do a load of laundry, fly out again.
Yeah.
So now that we're here and everything's been cancelled, we're like, well, why not? We got a bit of cash in the bank.
Our cash that was saved up for a van eventually, but we've been hard looking for the last couple, because we thought, unfortunately, the positive thinking we're thinking, like, unfortunately, people are in this situation and they might need some cash, so they might be selling vans that are on, not their main vehicles. So we've been looking hard on all the sale websites, and this van came up, and we were like, holy
And it's
crap.
perfect. It's a she. We haven't named her yet. The name will come soon.
There's a few names,
but it's definitely a female.
There's a few names we're working on. We've got to stand here and say the name and see if it's actually
For any of the viewers, if you know a name, put it in the comments.
Yes,
if you have any recommendations for an amazing
awesome
female van, let us know.
We said we'll have a few beers and say the name and see if she responds.
Yeah, so that's our big news at the moment. Seeing as we can't travel internationally, we got this van, and as soon as restrictions ease in New South Wales, at least, we're going to move into the van and just hit the road full time.
We have been living out of it for a few nights just to test it, to see how it is. Because it's brand new, we had a shower in it the other day, even though we had a shower in the house just there. We were like, let's try and test it. Yeah, we just wanted
cooking
to test
meals in it.
Cooking meals, even though we've got a kitchen in the house just there, things like that. We're just testing it, but it's definitely decked out for us. It's like,
so is it fully decked out?
Yeah,
fully decked out,
so amazing.
Completely off grid.
It's like set up for digital nomads. The people who decked it out before us were digital nomads, and they worked in market, and unfortunately life happened and they couldn't have it, so they sold it, and we just couldn't believe it. Like, the PowerPoints are where we want. It's just like made for us. We were like, yes,
we're looking at the moment, actually, because we've talked about it for a while, and I swear we're always, every second night we're always watching something on YouTube in regards to van life or doing up van conversions, and we've been looking for the past couple of weeks. We just started looking.
Mhm.
I'm someone who I obviously don't want to rush it. I shouldn't rush it, but I'm like, I see this one, I'm like, let's get it.
Yeah.
And then there's something wrong with it, and then I see another one the next day. I'm like, yes, I want that one, and then it's gone, and then.
Yeah.
But
I know what you mean. Like we were like that. We saw a lot of them, but we were kind of, there wasn't like, when one comes up,
Yeah.
and we were all like, it's okay, but it's not the perfect one. And then this one came up, and we were like, the only thing we could find wrong with it is it didn't have an awning, which we could put on ourselves.
Yeah.
So we were just like, oh my gosh. So we looked at it on a Thursday. We paid for it on a Tuesday after the long weekend because all the banks, and then we picked it up on Tuesday. So it was just like boom, 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 done. And we could not believe it. But definitely keep looking.
If you guys end up getting a van, we should go on a mad convoy and
That's what I'm thinking. 100%.
Yes.
Because we want to.
I love that.
Ideal idea is for us to get one, and then I want to, because my cousin did it. He did his conversion in the back. He did it himself.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be a really cool project to do the inside of it, especially now since we have heaps of time on our hands. I think it'd be a cool project and a real challenge, because I'm not one for. I can't really build much, so it'd be good.
There's this website I just came across today, actually. I was not that, so we didn't build our van, obviously, but I was just came across because I was looking at different things, and I was looking at something in the van, and this website came up, and it's called the Van Manual, and it tells you exactly what to do with everything in the van, for scratch. It was actually pretty impressive. I was like, whoever created this,
the guy that built our van, he's a software engineer, and he's never built anything in his life. And when we catch up with you guys, we'll show you the van. It's made.
I think he's telling porkies, because
it's
made amazing. I was like, really, dude? I'm sure you've done some woodwork in your time.
But don't lose hope, dude. If you want to build a van, just buy one, buy some timber.
Who was that guy you were watching the other day, and he built his van?
I'm not sure. We'll let you know if we come across anyone.
I'll look at his and I'll find out who we're watching.
That's so cool.
But now, we're watching just all these conversion videos on YouTube, different layouts, and then we'll probably have issues of few fights on what the layouts we want, and what works for both of us. So
it's really hard.
Have you never lived in a van before?
No. I've never had a car, so this is my first car, so I'm pretty stoked for that.
This will be your first awesome car. Van life is incredible. And it really tested. So this is crazy. So when I was actually in Canada, when we had the van, her name, and she was a bitch sometimes. She would never start. It was an 18 van.
It was a 1986 Chevy van. Old piece of crap
van. But the day Jarryd picked it up is the day before I met him. So he said, do you want to come pick up a van with me? And I was like, yeah, sure. Anyway, so we picked up the van together, and I was in the back of the van while he and his friend were in the front of the van. And I was just looking at the floor. The guy literally left it as it was. There was pornos in it. Seriously, you could scrape up a bag of weed. It's legal there. So it was you could scrape up a bag of weed in the back. And I was like, I wouldn't take this over the border to the US ever. And then we got together, and we had her for 3 years, and she was very basic, extremely basic. We had a cooker on the back,
just a little
stove cooker. We would just remove, and a bed. We slept with our snowball bags a lot over in Canada, but it was amazing. And having that the camper van experience, so simple, meaning it wasn't decked out fancy or anything. It was just very simple. It was incredible, the most amazing experience. And now we have this van, which I would say is fancy, meaning fancy.
It's a mansion van.
Yeah, it's massive. It's the van we have now is double the size of what Latoya was. So it's holy crap, we got all this space, and it's really we're working our way up in the van world. Yeah, but it's just even.
Yeah, you guys should do it. You guys love it. It's amazing.
Van life is the freedom.
For sure. We'll definitely do that. Once we find the perfect van. We'll wait.
Yeah, and you'll know when it pops up, and you'll be like, let's look at that one.
This is the one.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions?
No, I'm good now.
Do you guys have any questions?
What are you guys going to do for your first trip once all these travel restrictions are over?
Ooh. Internationally or domestically?
Yeah, let's go internationally because domestic, that'll come first. But let's jump forward a few months. Where are you going to go?
We have a New Zealand trip planned in March.
Yeah.
In March that we obviously can do. And we had that like scheduled out for like the hours of what we were going to do. We had so much jam packed in that. So I really hope we get to still do that. I'm so excited to do that.
And that was going to be our first like international client as well. We were going to work with like one of the van hire companies, get a van, do van life, and then shoot all the content from the trip. And yeah, we had like everything scheduled, like where we wanted to go. Some of the most amazing hikes that we were like super keen for. Every night, like before the trip, we were just watching YouTube videos of New Zealand. And then obviously you can't do that. So then, I reckon it'll probably be New Zealand. Yeah. Make that trip happen. And then the plan was to just travel as much as we could full time until we ran out of money. If we did, we'd come home. But I think the plan was to go from New Zealand and then to Japan. Yeah. Japan, like, obviously I've watched your vlogs and stuff. It looks incredible. It looks awesome.
Japan is incredible. Man. It's not just like, you know, there's the three big ones, like on the main island, Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka. Out of those three, Kyoto, like staying Gion, oh my God, incredible. But anyway, you would get so much amazing content there, like with the lights and people dressing up in their kimonos, it's just amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, Japan's next level.
Yeah,
it looks awesome. And from there, we were gonna where were we gonna go? We're gonna go to Canada and meet with my cousin again. Probably do a couple road trips there, and then I think one thing I was really keen for. We wanted to head over to Europe and do like the Alps. We wanted to do the Swiss Alps, all the hikes there. And like the Italian Dolomites and everything, that I was like super stoked for, because like everything, like I scroll through Pinterest like every day, and every photo is like from all the Alps over in Europe, and I was like, have to do it. And
Pinterest is dangerous. Pinterest, you could get just
I know. It's so bad. It's like just all mine is just tattoos, van life and travel. Just too many ideas. It's dangerous.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, we were just gonna travel anywhere we could full time until we ran out of money, and then come home if we had to and work, and then do it again.
Just see how it goes, what happens.
We wanted to build up a few clients for our first year of traveling and with Max&Em Travels. Because I love working with clients, and we've worked with a couple hotels and accommodations, and I think. Like as a freelance videographer, I've worked with clients throughout my career so far, and I love it's just something about working with clients. I love working with clients and like having like partnerships with people and creating content for someone's hotel or everything. But we wanted to end up working with tourism boards. Like that's our like number one goal.
Yeah.
I reckon.
I really want to I think my real goal is to really show to other people how easy it can be to travel. Like that's I really want to strip down everything like this is how step by step kind of really give them as much information as possible. So even when I wanted to first start traveling, it was really hard to find a lot of raw information, just honest information of actually what it's going to be like. I think sharing that with a lot of people as well is a good goal for us.
Documenting all our travels on YouTube and Instagram, showing the highs and the lows, I reckon. But hopefully that's
the raw, like you said, the rawness to the highs and the lows. Like a lot of couples that we follow, I think, or we're friends with, a lot of them will only show you the highs or something like that. And I feel like when this was years ago, and then when we showed a low, like how we had a we were burnt out and we said we're done. Like we ended up we were interviewed on television, morning television. They must have had a slow morning that morning.
Yeah.
But we interviewed on there. We were in CNN Travel, BBC Travel, like everyone. It was just like nobody is raw anymore.
But yeah, it's because of that, and especially if you guys are going to be focusing a lot on YouTube, people love that, and people will really gravitate towards you and engage with you if you guys are just being completely honest and going through like every step of the way, and showing what things that are easy and all the highlights, obviously. But when you guys are having a hard time, like it's kind of it's weird to say, right? But like people love drama, and so if someone's into a YouTube channel and everything's everything's amazing, and it's just like resorts and get 5-star this and whatever, people get over that real quick. But if you're just being honest and raw and showing the bad side as well as the good side, people are going to love the content that you guys produce.
And you do get and the negative, the haters will come. They always come everywhere, unfortunately, but never dwell or like gravitate to the haters. For example, there might be like 2 haters and 200 positives. Yeah. And people gravitate, to the wrong one. And it's just like, they always gravitate to the positive ones, because we've had some haters over our travel times, and you just think, I take him to heart more than Jarryd, but Jarryd just like, he's like, whatever. But that's, like I know we were honest about our travels in China, and we didn't really have a very good time in China, and we met some beautiful people, we saw some amazing landscapes, but I feel like mentally we weren't in the right place, and so we, again, the positive negative, we didn't just have the right vibes. But anyway, and we were very honest about that, and then we had a few haters from that, but we had a lot of people saying, oh my god, I thought it was only me, or like I traveled to this country and I felt the same way, things like that. So it's like it brings out the other people as well. And
you guys got big dreams, so if you guys are going to absolutely crush it, and if there's anything we can do to help about anything or whatever along the way, just drop us a message. We're always happy to chat and share tips and advice.
Definitely, we love
tourism boards and things like that. Like, we've worked with dozens of tourism boards over the last couple of years, and happy to share any advice we can.
That's awesome. We'd be super grateful for that. Extremely grateful to have met you guys, and hopefully we'll end up doing our little van life together, little road trip.
That would be awesome. Well, as soon as they lift these restrictions, we'll be in the van, we'll be cruising up and down the coast, so we'll stop off and we'll go on a mad mission with you guys.
We are so excited for dinner. Like, I cannot wait.
We have to do it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for being on the first episode of the Max&Em Travels Zoom Podcast.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
See you guys. Bye.